Back again for another deep dive, DeFi Research Corner and all that. Our fifth one. Can you believe it?
Fifth already. Time flies when you're knee-deep in DeFi research, huh?
Tell me about it. Well, today's paper, the deep dive today is taking us to Europe.
Ooh, Europe. Always up for a good European adventure. What kind of DeFi treasures are we uncovering there?
We're looking at how European banks are approaching blockchain, and it's interesting stuff. You know, the paper's called Blockchain and Banking: Lessons from Early Adopters.
Catchy title. So who are these early adopters? Are we talking big names, small players, or something in between?
Well, we've got two banks, actually, and they're taking very different approaches, which is what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Ooh, a tale of two banks. I'm intrigued. Lay it on me. Who are our protagonists in this blockchain drama?
Okay, so first up, we've got PKO BP. They're like the biggest bank in Poland.
Okay, so a major player. What's their blockchain strategy?
They're taking it slow and steady, very cautious. They're calling it a bottom-up approach.
Yeah.
They've got a small team exploring how blockchain can improve traditional banking services.
Makes sense. Big institutions, they tend to move cautiously. Not exactly known for their agility, right?
Yeah, exactly. Plus, they're super worried about their reputation. They even say in the paper that one bad experience with a blockchain product could, tarnish their entire brand.
Yeah, I can see that. Public perception of crypto can be pretty volatile. One misstep and you're suddenly the bank that lost everyone's Bitcoin. Not a good look.
No, not at all. And then in the other corner, we have Bank Frick.
Bank Frick, okay. Haven't heard of them. Fill me in.
They're a private bank based in Liechtenstein, and they're going all in on crypto, like full-on crypto integration.
Wow, that's quite a contrast. Cautious giant versus crypto trailblazer. I'm already sensing some good lessons here. So what's driving these different strategies? Why is PKO BP dipping their toes while Bank Frick is doing a cannonball into the crypto pool?
Well, it seems like PKO BP is mostly interested in using blockchain to, streamline their existing operations, make things more efficient, maybe explore some cost savings.
Okay, so pretty traditional motivations. What about Bank Frick? What's their angle?
They saw a gap in the market for institutional-grade crypto services, like custody, trading, all that stuff.
Ah, so they saw the institutional demand coming and decided to ride that wave. Smart move. But I imagine both banks faced some serious challenges, even if they were coming at it from different angles.
Oh yeah, for sure. For PKO BP, regulation was a huge headache. I mean, they're in Poland, which is part of the EU, and the regulatory landscape there is, it's complicated. Lots of hoops to jump through.
Yeah, navigating the regulatory maze can be a real pain, especially in the crypto space where things are changing so rapidly. So what kind of regulatory hurdles did they run into?
They were constantly dealing with lengthy approval processes, even for relatively straightforward things like stablecoins.
Oh, I bet that was frustrating. You want to innovate, but you're stuck waiting for the green light from the regulators.
Exactly. And then there's MiCA and CSP coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
These are EU-wide regulations that are going to have a huge impact on how banks approach crypto and blockchain. So it's like they're trying to hit a moving target.
Yeah, that's tough. So lots of regulatory uncertainty for PKO BP. What about Bank Frick? Did they have it easier being in Liechtenstein?
Actually, yeah, they did. Liechtenstein was one of the first countries to pass comprehensive blockchain legislation, the Blockchain Act. So they had a much clearer path to navigate.
Ah, that makes a big difference. Liechtenstein, always ahead of the curve. They were also early adopters of, internet gambling regulations back in the day. Seems like they have a knack for embracing new tech.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, Bank Frick's challenge wasn't so much regulation, but more about the technology itself.
Oh, how so?
Well, this was back in 2018, and back then, finding reliable, enterprise-grade custody solutions for crypto was, nearly impossible.
That makes sense. Secure custody is paramount when you're dealing with client assets, especially in the crypto world. So they basically had to build a lot of that infrastructure from scratch.
Pretty much, yeah. They even had to develop their own sophisticated forensic tools to make sure they weren't handling any, dirty crypto.
Dirty crypto, that's a great term. So they were really going above and beyond to ensure compliance and mitigate risk. That must have been a costly and time-consuming endeavor.
Definitely. And it highlights just how important due diligence is in this space. You can't just jump into crypto without having your security and compliance ducks in a row.
Absolutely. The reputational risks are just too high. One slip up and you could lose the trust of your clients, your partners, even the regulators. So we've got one bank grappling with regulatory hurdles, the other tackling technical challenges. It seems like blockchain adoption isn't for the faint of heart.
Nope, definitely not. But even with these challenges, both banks were able to make progress and gain valuable insights. And you know what? They were actually willing to share some of those insights with other institutions looking to get into the blockchain game.
Oh, that's great. Always good to learn from those who have walked the path before you. So, what pearls of wisdom did they offer?
Well, they both stressed the importance of starting small and identifying real business needs. Don't just jump on the blockchain bandwagon because it's trendy. Figure out what problems you can actually solve with this technology.
Practical advice. I like it. Focus on the problem, not the tech. What else?
Education, education, education. They both emphasize the need to educate key stakeholders early on, especially departments like AML and cybersecurity.
Makes sense. You need to get everyone on board and understanding the ins and outs of blockchain before you can really move forward. So build that internal expertise. Anything else?
Yeah, Bankfrick had a great piece of advice for banks that want to dive into crypto but don't have the resources to build everything in-house. Partner up. Find an established blockchain bank that can provide the infrastructure and expertise you need.
Smart move. Leverage existing resources and expertise to get up and running faster. So they're basically saying, don't try to reinvent the wheel, collaborate.
Exactly. And now, for a topic that always sparks debate, CBDCs, central bank digital currencies.
Ah, yes. The digital dollar, the e-euro, the whatever China's calling theirs these days.
Exactly. So Bankfrick, being the crypto-forward bank that they are, was pretty optimistic about the potential of wholesale CBDCs, especially for streamlining interbank settlements, like making cross-border payments faster and cheaper. They even talked about how challenging it is to move U.S. dollars around the world right now, and how a wholesale CBDC could really help with that.
Interesting. But wasn't PKO BP a bit more hesitant about the whole CBDC thing?
Yeah, they were. They were much more into the idea of stablecoins, arguing that they can do the job just as well, if not better.
I can see both sides of the argument. CBDCs offer the stability and backing of a central bank, while stablecoins are often seen as more innovative and flexible. It's a fascinating debate, for sure.
For sure. So we've got these two banks taking different paths, facing different challenges, and coming to different conclusions about the future of blockchain and banking. But one thing's for sure, they're both pushing the boundaries and helping to shape the future of finance.
Yeah, this is just the beginning of the story, and it's a story that's going to have a lot of twists and turns. So where do we go from here? Where do these banks see this whole blockchain thing going?
Well, Bankfrick, always the crypto optimists.
Yeah, they were definitely all in.
They think we're right on the edge of mass adoption.
Yeah.
Everyone using crypto all the time. They think it's just around the corner.
Do they really? What makes them think that?
They said that, we'll start seeing more and more regulatory clarity, and that'll bring in a wave of new crypto services.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Regulations are a big hurdle right now. Once those get ironed out, it'll be a lot easier for companies to build and for people to use crypto without worrying about, breaking some obscure rule they didn't even know existed.
No, exactly. They even mentioned institutional ETFs becoming more popular as a sign that things are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's a good point. When big institutions start getting involved, it gives the whole industry more legitimacy.
And it could encourage more retail investors to, finally dip their toes in the water.
For sure. So Bankfrick thinks regulation and institutional adoption will pave the way for mass adoption. What's PKO BP's take? Are they as bullish?
Not necessarily. I mean, they definitely see a bright future for blockchain, but they think mass adoption will look a bit different. They're more focused on the technology just becoming integrated into our everyday lives, without us even realizing it.
Interesting. So kind of like how we use the internet without thinking about the technical details?
Exactly. They even mentioned that they've already got millions of customers in Poland using blockchain technology without knowing it.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Can you give me an example? Like, how are they using blockchain without even realizing it?
Well, they didn't get into specifics, but they hinted at things like, supply chain management, digital identity verification, maybe even voting systems, just stuff that could be made more secure, transparent, and efficient using blockchain.
Yeah, I can see that. Blockchain has the potential to revolutionize so many different industries. So it's not necessarily about everyone becoming crypto traders. It's about blockchain just quietly working in the background to make things better.
Right, exactly. So two different visions of mass adoption. Bankfrick is all about bringing crypto to the masses, while PKO BP sees blockchain as this kind of foundational technology that'll power all sorts of stuff, mostly invisible to the average person.
Interesting. It's like two sides of the same coin, both potentially transformative in their own way. Now, let's talk about something that's got everyone buzzing. Real-world asset tokenization.
Oh, yeah, that's a hot topic these days. For those who might not know, can you explain what real-world asset tokenization is all about?
Sure. Basically, it's about taking real-world assets, things like real estate, artwork, intellectual property, even things like stocks and bonds, and representing them as tokens on a blockchain.
So instead of having a physical deed to your house, you'd have a digital token that represents ownership of that house on a blockchain.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, these tokens can be easily traded or transferred, which could unlock new levels of liquidity and efficiency in markets that are traditionally, well, pretty illiquid. You could even have fractional ownership, where multiple people own a piece of a tokenized asset.
So it's like taking something that's normally difficult to buy, sell, or divide up and making it as easy to trade as, say, Bitcoin.
Exactly. At least that's the promise.
So what did our banking experts have to say about real-world asset tokenization? Are they as excited about it as everyone else seems to be?
Well, they were definitely intrigued by the potential, but they were also pretty cautious. PKO BP was particularly blunt, saying that most projects they've seen are like 90% marketing and experimentation. Not a lot of substance yet.
Ouch. That's got to sting for some of these projects.
Yeah. I mean, they're not wrong. There's a lot of hype, but not a lot of real-world success stories yet.
Hmm.
One of the biggest challenges is finding a real business case that goes beyond just putting something on a blockchain for the sake of it. Just because you tokenize an asset doesn't automatically make it more valuable or easier to trade.
Right. You need a marketplace where people actually want to buy and sell these tokenized assets. And you need to make sure the whole process is, legally sound and compliant with all the relevant regulations.
Exactly. And that can be tricky, especially when you're dealing with assets like real estate, which are subject to a whole web of complex laws and regulations. So, real-world asset tokenization. Lots of potential, but still early days. The technology and the regulatory landscape need to mature before we see widespread adoption.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's super important for the future of blockchain. Education. How do we make this technology more accessible and understandable to the average person? Because let's be honest, it can be pretty intimidating if you're not already familiar with all the jargon and concepts.
Yeah, it's definitely a barrier to entry for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, what did our experts have to say about blockchain education?
Well, Bankfrick was all about promoting blockchain education and responsible crypto usage. They even mentioned working with European NGOs to help them accept crypto donations safely and effectively.
Oh, that's cool. It's like showing people the real-world benefits of blockchain, especially in areas like philanthropy and social good. It's not just about speculation and trading, it's about using this technology to make a positive impact.
Exactly. But PKO BP had a bit of a different perspective. They were kind of skeptical about the need for, like, mass blockchain education.
Really? Why is that?
Their argument was that good documentation already exists online for those who are interested, and that the focus should be on developing user-friendly products rather than trying to teach everyone the technical intricacies of blockchain.
So it's kind of a build it and they will come philosophy. If blockchain applications are truly intuitive and solve real problems, people will adopt them without needing to understand how the underlying technology works.
Right, exactly. It goes back to that idea of mass adoption we were talking about earlier. The technology becomes invisible, and people just use it because it makes their lives easier or better in some way.
I like that analogy. It's like using the internet. Most people don't know how TCP/IP works, but they use it every day because it connects them to the information and services they need.
Exactly. So maybe instead of trying to turn everyone into blockchain experts, we should focus on building products that are so easy to use that people don't even need to know they're using blockchain. But speaking of cool stuff being built, have you heard much about this whole BTC-Fi thing?
BTC-Fi. Yeah. It's like DeFi, but for Bitcoin, it's a pretty exciting development.
It is. For a long time, Bitcoin was mainly seen as like digital gold,
Yeah.
right? A store of value. But now with innovations like the Lightning Network, people are starting to realize that Bitcoin can be so much more than just a way to hodl.
Yeah, the Lightning Network is a game changer. It basically creates a second layer on top of the Bitcoin blockchain, allowing for much faster and cheaper transactions. So instead of waiting forever for your Bitcoin transaction to confirm and paying a hefty fee, you can zap payments back and forth instantly with minimal fees. It's pretty amazing.
It sounds like it. So what kind of things are being built on BTC-Fi?
All sorts of cool stuff. Lending platforms, decentralized exchanges, even synthetic assets. It's still early days, but the possibilities are huge. And Bankfrick was particularly bullish on BTC-Fi, seeing it as a major trend to watch. They think it has the potential to attract more institutional investors and further blur the lines between traditional finance and the crypto world.
Interesting. So is BTC Fi going to take over DeFi? Will Ethereum become obsolete?
Hmm, that's a tough one. It's hard to say what the future holds. Bitcoin has some major advantages, like its massive network effect and its reputation as, the original and most secure cryptocurrency.
Yeah, it's like the OG of crypto.
Right. But Ethereum has a much more developed DeFi ecosystem and a more flexible programming language, which makes it easier to build complex applications. So I think there's room for both ecosystems to thrive. They each have their strengths and weaknesses.
Competition breeds innovation, right?
Right, exactly. And that's what makes this space so exciting. There's so much experimentation happening, so many different approaches being explored. Speaking of which, Bankfrick also predicted a surge in the number of layer one protocols,
Yeah.
new blockchain platforms being offered to retail clients.
So instead of just Bitcoin and Ethereum, we'll have a whole buffet of blockchains to choose from.
Exactly. It's a sign of the growing maturity of the crypto market. For a long time, Bitcoin and Ethereum were the only games in town. Now, there's a whole ecosystem of alternative blockchains vying for attention, each with its own unique features and capabilities.
More choices for users, but also more complexity to navigate. It sounds a bit overwhelming.
It can be. That's why it's so important to do your research and understand the risks and potential rewards of each platform. But this explosion of innovation is also incredibly exciting. It means that the technology is evolving rapidly, and we're constantly seeing new and creative applications emerge.
It's like the Wild West of finance out there.
Yeah.
PKO BP, Everett the Pragmatist, had some grounding advice, though.
Yo, yeah. What was that?
They emphasized that while experimentation and innovation are super important, the true measure of success for blockchain and banking will be its ability to deliver, tangible benefits to everyday users. Don't get lost in the hype, they're saying. Focus on building products that solve real problems and make people's lives better.
Solid advice, I'd say. At the end of the day, it's all about creating value. So much cool stuff happening with blockchain. But sometimes it feels like we get lost in the tech.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the hype, but at the end of the day, it's all about using this technology to actually make a difference in people's lives.
Exactly. So let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. What are some concrete examples of blockchain applications that could really improve people's lives?
Well, we've already talked about things like secure digital identity and making cross-border payments easier and cheaper.
Right, those are big ones. Imagine a world where you don't have to carry around a physical wallet full of IDs or worry about getting ripped off by those shady money transfer services.
Seriously, that would be a game changer, especially for folks in developing countries who rely heavily on remittances.
Absolutely. And think about things like supply chains. Blockchain can make them more transparent so consumers can be sure that the products they're buying are ethically sourced.
Yeah. And what about things like charitable giving? Blockchain could make it easier to track donations and make sure they're actually going where they're supposed to.
Exactly. And we can't forget about voting. Blockchain could help create more secure and transparent elections, which is something a lot of people are concerned about these days.
No kidding. Tamper-proof voting. Sign me up. But let's be real. There are still some hurdles to overcome before we see these kinds of applications become mainstream.
For sure, scalability is still a major challenge for a lot of blockchain platforms. And then there's the whole regulatory landscape, which is still evolving and can be a bit of a minefield.
Yeah, and we can't forget about public perception. There's still a lot of skepticism and even fear around crypto and blockchain. People hear stories about scams and hacks, and it makes them hesitant to get involved.
Right, so education is key. We need to help people understand what blockchain is, how it works, and why it matters.
And we need to build trust. Show people that this technology can be used for good, that it can solve real problems and make a positive impact on the world.
Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do here at DeFi Research Corner. Demystify blockchain, explore the different perspectives, and help our listeners make informed decisions.
So what are some key takeaways for our listeners? Well, for one, blockchain is definitely shaking things up in the financial world. We're seeing banks, fintech startups, even governments, all exploring the possibilities.
And while there are challenges, the pace of innovation is incredible. New projects, new protocols, new use cases are popping up all the time.
From institutional crypto adoption to the rise of BTC-Fi to the ongoing debate about CBDCs, things are moving fast.
It's a fascinating time to be involved in this space, that's for sure. So stay curious, keep learning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one building the next big thing in blockchain.
Until next time, keep on diving.